Hello, children. I'm Mrs. Vijayalakshmi, your social science teacher. Welcome to the social online classes of Pragathi, the school. Well, today I will start with the history chapter 1, the rise of nationalism in Europe. Well, children, this chapter is divided into 6 topics, and we will study about each topic in detail. Let's know the 6 topics. First one is the French Revolution and the idea of nation. Second one is the making of nationalism in Europe. Third one, the age of revolutions from 1830 to 1848. Fourth one is the making of Germany and Italy. Fifth one is visualizing the nation. And sixth one is the nationalism and imperialism. Let's start with the first topic, children, French Revolution and the idea of the nation. French Revolution started in 1789, which was the first expression of nationalism in Europe. The French people demanded the abolition of monarchy system and establishment of democracy. Children, you had read in class 9 in history, first chapter, the French Revolution. Already you know about the 3 estates, where the third estates were not given any privileges, and because of this, the people, they were very angry on the monarch and they wanted to abolish monarchism. And you know, children, during this French Revolution, the school and college students supported the idea of nationalism by forming Jacobean club. I hope you remember the reign of terror, the Robespierre's reign, who was the person of behind Jacobean clubs. Well, children, later on we find that the French armies moved to foreign lands to spread the idea of nationalism, because they were trying to spread the idea of nationalism through landing on such countries where people were dominated by the monarchs. Steps taken during French Revolution were formation of National Assembly. French was made the official language. Construction of uniform laws was done. Then abolition of internal custom duties were also started. Meanwhile, the French armies conquered some of the foreign lands, freeing them from the monarchs. At the same time, children, Napoleon Bonaparte, he came back to France after losing many battles in the other parts of Europe. And as soon as he took over the emperorship, he increased the taxes and forced the conscriptions into the French armies, and this was a negative effect of his rule. Well, children, through a return to monarchy, Napoleon had no doubt he destroyed democracy in France. But at the same time, in the administrative field, he had incorporated revolutionary principles in order to make the whole system more rational and efficient. So, for this, he established the Civil Code of 1804, which was also known as the Napoleonic Code. So according to this code, he had taken away all the privileges based on birth. He established equality before the law and secured the right to property for everyone. And at the same time, children, this code was exported to many regions under the French control by him. And he also simplified the administration divisions. He abolished the feudal system. He freed the peasants from serfdom and paying the taxes. And also he removed the guild restrictions from the trade. Our next topic is the making of nationalism in Europe. The Eastern and the Central Europe were under the autocratic monarchies, within the territories of which the peoples lived in different states with different languages. Now, children, such differences, it was not easily promoted the sense of political unity. The only tie binding these diverse groups together was a common fight against the emperor. Well, children, we can see the structure of the European society, where they were the aristocracies, peasantries, and the middle class people. Now, these aristocracies were less in population, and high class dominating people they were, and they included the landlords, and they had all the rights in the country. At the same time, when you talk about the peasantry, they were huge in population, and they were all low class people. They were landless, and they were working on tenants, and they had no rights in the society. Now, let's move towards middle class people. Now, these middle class people, they were educated population, and these middle class people included doctors, teachers, and industrialists. And they demanded the liberal nationalism, because when you talk about the educated population, it is understood clearly that children, they were the thinkers, philosophers too. Let's talk about liberal nationalism. Liberal nationalism meant the individual freedom, equality before the law, then government should be of the choice of the people, then freedom of markets. Well, here, children, the ideology of liberalism emerged, which ended the state interference in the economic life of the society. So, apart from political interference, now people wanted economic change also. So these paved way for the freedom of markets, and it achieved the restriction on the movement of goods and capital abolitions. So at the same time, the custom union was also formed in 1834, which was known as the Zollverein, and this helped in the abolition of tariff barriers in the trade, and it also helped in the abolition of 28 currencies out of 30. Well, children, now let's talk about the conservatism. Conservatism was an European government who wanted to preserve the traditional institutions and society in the France. Now, some of the countries like Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria, they joined hand in hand, and they signed a Treaty of Vienna in 1815 against Napoleon. According to this treaty, it was an establishment of states on the border of France, so that it cannot be expanded in future. And they wanted to restore the Bourbon dynasty, and they wanted to continue the monarchism in France. Well, children, after conservatism, let's talk about the revolutionaries. Now, these revolutionaries sprang up in many European states to train the revolutionary ideas to oppose the monarchical forms, and that had been established after the Vienna Treaty. Now, most of the revolutionaries saw the creation of nation states as a necessary part of the struggle for freedom. Now, the aim of these revolutionaries were to free the people from the monarchism. Now, children, some revolutionaries like Giuseppe Mazzini, he had formed the secret societies, where the aim of these secret societies were to spread the idea of nationalism, to oppose the Treaty of Vienna, to fight for the freedom. Now, this was started by Giuseppe Mazzini. He was an Italian revolutionary, and he founded the Young Italy and Young Europe against the monarchs of the France. And he also wanted some young men from Poland, France, Italy, and Germany states to be the part of these revolutionary ideas, and also to take part in this revolution against the monarchs. Well, children, our third topic of this chapter is the age of revolutions from 1830 to 1848. This was an event that mobilized the nationalist feelings among the educated people across the Europe. Was the Greek War of Independence, children. Now, this struggle for independence started in 1821 in Greece, and during the Greek War, people got support from the following groups, from the revolutionaries of Greece, from the artists were also interested to help their country to be independent, and even the West European people also were interested to be a part of this war. Then the poets, even the poets were very much interested to fight in the war. And one of the poet, that is Lord Byron, he also organized some funds for this war, but later he died in fever in 1824. Then finally, the Treaty of Constantinople of 1832 recognized the Greece as an independent nation, and finally it was declared independent. Then, children, so all these revolutionary ideas, they come through the love for their country. So we can name it as romanticism also, children. Now, the development of nationalism did not come about only through the wars and territorial expansion, but also cultural played an important role in the creating the idea of the nation, like art, poetry, stories, music, which expressed the nationalist feeling. And when we talk about romanticism, a cultural movement, sought to develop a particular form of nationalist sentiments. Now, it is also, you can say, romanticism, a cultural movement that rejected the nationalism by science and reasons, and it introduced nationalism through art, music, love, etc. So we can see even other romanticism, like in German philosophers also had put their claims that romanticism can be a love for the one's country. Well, this is fourth topic of this chapter, the making of Germany and Italy. Children, after 1848, the nationalist sentiments were often mobilized by the conservatives. As you know, the conservatives were the people who wanted to keep their generation, their traditions alive, isn't it, children? You can say, in other words, they were the monarchs who had lost their monarchism. Now, so they tried in promoting the state power and achieving the political domination over Europe. So because of this, the process of unification of Germany and Italy came into. So children, let's read about unification of Germany. Now, in Germany, when you talk about Germany, we come to know that European government tried its best to unify Germany, but they could not, as the German Empire was under the rule of King Wilhelm IV, because he was not ready to start up with the unification of Germany. Now, because of these, three wars were fought between 1864 and 1870. Now, these three wars were like Danish War, Austro-Persian War, and Franco-Persian War. So out of these three wars, Persian got the victory and completed the process of unification of Germany in 1871. So children, finally we see that the Persian were able to unify Germany, and the person behind the unification of Germany was the chief minister of Persia, uh, Otto von Bismarck. He started the nationalist movement in Germany, and finally, with his effort, He waged war against the other European nations, and finally Persian king Caesar William I was proclaimed the German Empire after the unification of Germany. Okay, children, that was the unification of Germany, and let's talk about the unification of Italy now. Like Germany, Italy too had a long history of political disturbances, and Italians were scattered over several dynastic states as well as the multiple national Habsburg Empire. Now, children, during the middle of the 19th century, Italy was divided into 7 states, out of which only one, Sardinia Piedmont, was ruled by an Italian princely house. So, the requirement of unification of Italy was important. The unification process was led by three revolutionaries, Giuseppe Mazzini, Giuseppe Garibaldi, and Cavour. These were the three strong revolutionaries who had put their effort in the unification of Italy. Well, children, let's know about Giuseppe Garibaldi. He was known as the hero of red shirts. He won the support of Italian peasants. He drew out the Spanish rulers from Italy. At the same time, even Giuseppe Mazzini, he was the head of a Republican Party, and he is the founder of Young Italy, and he educated the people to come for the unification of Italy. Next is the Cavour. Cavour was neither a revolutionarist or nor was a democrat, yet known as the real maker of Italy. Well, children, he won the wars against France and Austria through his diplomatic ways. So these three people, they had put their effort in unifying the Italy, and apart from regular troops, large number of armed volunteers under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi joined the war. In 1861, children, the process of unification of Italy completed, and Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed the king of the United Italy. Children, the history of nationalism in Britain was different from the rest of Europe. Before the 18th century, there was no British nation, and the people of different identities comprised English, Scot, or Irish. They lived in the British Isles. Now, the Act of Union of 1707 between England and Scotland resulted in the formation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, and this led to the domination of Scotland's distinctive culture and political institutions. Ireland was forcibly included into the United Kingdom in 1801. So, children, British Empire consisted of Scottish, Irish, and English community. And finally, Industrial Revolution brought economic prosperity to the empire. And you can see the flag here, all the three nations flag, the England, the Scotland, and later they brought into Ireland flag, and finally they joined all three countries together, and they formed the United Kingdom of Great Britain. This is our fifth topic of this chapter, visualizing the nation. Children, in the 18th and 19th centuries, artists found a way out by presenting a nation. Nations were portrayed as female figures, and the female figure became an allegory of the nation. A story, poem, or picture which can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning is known as allegory, and they were used in to spread the idea of nationalism. Children, you can see the portrait or the statue of Bharat Mata here, which presents our country, India. Then Germania can be seen here. She is presenting Germany. So this way, the artist had tried to present their nation. Well, children, here are some more examples of allegories. You can see the symbol of crown of oak leaves, which signifies the heroism. Then you can see the symbol of rising sun, which symbolizes the new era. Then you can see the sword. The sword signifies the that we are ready to fight. So this way, you will find many allegories around you, children, which speaks lots of meaning. Just try once, children. Take some, allegories. Find out what allegories you can find near you, and what does it speaks about. Well, children, this is the sixth and the last topic of this chapter, nationalism and imperialism. Uh, in the last years of 19th century, nationalism started converting into imperialism. Yes, children, the nationalist groups in Europe had become increasingly incompatible with each other and were constantly in conflict to show their supremacy on each other. The major European powers, namely like Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary, they began taking advantage of nationalism in Europe to overtake their aims of imperialism, so that they can capture more colonies and they can become more powerful. After 1871, there was a significant change in the concept of nationalism in Europe. All these nations like Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary, they turned their attention towards Balkan, as the Balkan was a very rich in resource nation. Now everybody wanted to have the complete control over Balkan. Let's see in our next lecture. Children, I had told you about the Balkans in my previous lecture. The European powers cited the much distributed Balkan region to fulfill their imperialistic goals. Now, as we know, imperialism is the overtaking of nationalism by capturing the regions through the military power. The Balkan region consisted of the following countries of our times, like Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, Macedonia, Croatia, Bosnia, Slovenia, Serbia, and Montenegro. So, children, these regions were very rich in resources, and most of the powerful nations like Russia, Germany, England, Austro-Hungary, they wanted to have a hold of their powers over Balkans, and they wanted to extend its own control over the area. Now, these led to the series of wars in the region, and finally, it led to the First World War, children. Well, children, this was the end of the first chapter. Hope you would have understood the chapter. And if you have any doubts, you can call me to clarify your doubts.